So, President Biden's campaign just released this devastating new ad on Donald Trump. And essentially, in this ad, they are highlighting how when Donald Trump was president, when he occupied the Oval Office, the United States was laughed at. Countries were mocking us because of Donald Trump. They didn't believe in us. They weren't confident in our democracy anymore. Whereas now, with President Biden in office, that's no longer the case. People want to work with the United States again. They believe in us. They view us as the beacon of hope on the global stage, especially when it comes to things like preserving democracy, as President Biden has talked so much about. So I'm going to show you this ad, and we'll talk about it a little bit. But man, it gave me goosebumps when I watched it. It really is that good. So take a look at it here.
Leaders caught on camera laughing about President Trump.
Several world leaders mocking President Trump.
They're laughing at him.
My administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
World leaders mocking and ridiculing him for being completely off balance.
Allies are deeply worried about it. They say he's becoming increasingly isolated. Something is very wrong.
The world sees Trump for what he is: insincere, ill-informed, corrupt, dangerously incompetent, and incapable, in my view, of world leadership. And if we give Donald Trump 4 more years, we'll have a great deal of difficulty, if ever, being able to recover America's standing in the world and our capacity to bring nations together.
Yeah, wasn't that just fantastic? I mean, I think President Biden's campaign is just one of the best in the business at making these ads. And I love the contrast they drew. Like, look, Donald Trump is getting laughed at. He was laughed at in front of the UN. You have these world leaders. Many of them are allies, like huddling in secrecy at these events, saying like, this guy's a lunatic. Can you get a load of him? His own team is laughing at him. Whereas now with President Biden, you have this steady, calm, cool, collected leadership on the world stage, and he reaches out to leaders. He views partnerships as a positive thing, not as a negative thing like Donald Trump did. And look, before we go any further, I just have to see that video again of Donald Trump getting laughed at in front of the UN when he was speaking. So let's just watch that video one more time together. It's just so perfect.
In less than 2 years, my administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country. America's so true. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that just remarkable? Like, even the people in the room who he's speaking to, again, many of them are allies, know that he's full of it. You know, obviously his administration hasn't accomplished more than any administration in American history, and the people in the room know that. And look, this ad really talked about how Donald Trump was not respected on the world stage, and we actually have data on this showing that to be the case. So here's from the Pew Research Center, some data that they've gathered. They do polls like all around the world, and this was polls among 24 countries who are surveyed each year. And just look at this. I mean, confidence in the U.S. president when Obama was in office was at 74%. People who had a favorable view of the United States was at 64% with President Obama. Then as soon as Donald Trump got into office in 2017, confidence in the U.S. president dropped to 23%. 23%. And people who had a favorable view of the United States plummeted to 49%. Just like that, when you have a lunatic like Donald Trump who gets into office, the world is like, yep, not a fan of that guy, rightly so. Rightly so, he's a lunatic. And he was getting laughed at. People were embarrassed for the United States. People around the world were like, oh my, what did they do? How did they do this? And, you know, I'm reminded of many different events during the Trump presidency when we talk about this topic, like him getting protested in other countries. Like, take a look at this screenshot on your screen right now. This was a protest in Dublin, Ireland. As you can see, there's the big Trump baby balloon. They have that over there as well. Shout out to the Irish. We love them. This was in Ireland. They were protesting his visit with signs and balloons and flags saying, hey, this is not an American president. This guy's not the real deal. This is not, you know, who we envision as an American president. Because we went from, you know, President Obama to Donald Trump. That's like one of the worst downgrades in history. But even countries around the world, people around the world who are not directly involved in American politics are protesting him. They say that he's a lunatic, that he's crazy. And to build off that ad and, what they were kind of saying about President Biden, let's just take a look at some data proving them to be correct, and also some quotes from some world leaders praising President Biden, some of these same people who slammed Donald Trump. So recently, President Biden was in France, in Normandy and Paris, to commemorate the 80th anniversary of D-Day and to honor the heroes who gave their lives in World War II or served generally. And President Emmanuel Macron of France had this to say about President Biden, saying that he brought clarity and loyalty of a partner that loves and respects the Europeans. Now, Macron is one of the same allies during the Trump administration who laughed at him and mocked him for his antics, for his lack of leadership, for his lack of moral clarity. Same guy. And now he turns around and says, hey, this President Biden guy, this experienced statesman who kind of knows what he's doing, he knows how to find Europe on a map, which I don't think Donald Trump could, is, a good leader who represents the United States well. And we also have Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, also praising President Biden, saying, quote, I find that President Biden's experience is incredibly helpful, particularly on issues like China. I think there are, few leaders anywhere who have spent as much time talking to President Xi of China. Again, British Prime Minister, current guy in there, saying that President Biden is experienced and that he brings a lot to the table and he helps the partnership that they have together, the United States and the United Kingdom, one of the longest the oldest partnerships that we have here in the United States. And the last thing I want to show you just really emphasizes the point that President Biden is admired and respected, Donald Trump is laughed at and mocked. And here's some data again from the Pew Research Center. And I mean, just look at this. Sweden, Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, France, Italy, yada, yada. The list goes on, showing that from Trump, they had, sometimes single-digit confidence in Trump or, in the teens, maybe the 20s if Trump is lucky. Whereas President Biden, and this is just in terms of confidence in the U.S. president, President Biden's in 85%, 79%, 86%, 78%. He's in those highest numbers, those numbers where you want to be. But Donald Trump can't say the same. He just can't at all. He's not even close. And just look at this graph kind of highlighting exactly what that was talking about. Look at the difference. When President Obama was in office, a lot of confidence in the United States with President Biden as VP at the time. And then when Donald Trump came in, it collapsed in all of these countries, again, many of them who we are allies with. And then now President Biden returns to office, and it's been nothing but love for the American president. We're back on the world stage with Biden in office. Let's not go back to being laughed at with Donald Trump. That's the message here. Let's stay with the experience, the guy who knows what he's doing, Joe Biden. Let's not go to the convicted felon who, as I said, I genuinely cannot believe that Trump could find Europe on a map. I don't think he could find Asia. I don't think he could name the 7 continents. I'm genuinely serious. And I think a lot of you would probably agree. I don't think this guy knows anything about foreign policy or about any other country. You say, where's Europe? He says, I don't know. That's Trump. So just had to show you that ad and kind of the data that really supports this. This is not just being hyperbolic. It's true. Countries respect Biden. They don't respect Trump. So I had to show you that ad. I think it's fantastic. And I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for watching this video. I greatly appreciate you being here. Make sure to subscribe down below. It goes such a long way. Also drop a like on the video and comment. Let me know what you think about all this. I'm excited to hear from all of you. And yeah, I'll leave it there. So thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.